So the artificial matrix and mind control, excerpt from Word Magic by Power Chang. Where do you think you are currently, and how did you get here? These are questions that are very thought-provoking, but open up many doors, and it's good to open the mind whilst staying protected, obviously, in order to search for these things, because once you open your mind and your heart, you allow a lot of insights and messages to come in and synchronicities to come in. But this will help, add some fuel to the fire, as it were, just to give you an insight. So it's unfortunate that most people are ignorant of the power of words and spells. Because of their ignorance, the dark forces can effectively use words and spells to program and condition them to believe in lies and live as slaves in an artificial matrix, allowing the dark forces to use them as biological batteries. In other words, the artificial matrix is the hell on earth. Many people are worried that if they do not do good deeds and join a religion, they may go to hell after they die. What they do not know is that they are already living in hell. It is called the artificial dead matrix, which is the land or sea of the dead. For you to understand how the artificial matrix is created, you need to know what the universe is made of. At the deepest level of the external reality, everything is energy and consciousness. When I say external reality, I'm talking about the reality in front of the fabric of space that is outside of you. The realm behind the fabric of space is known by scientists as dark energy. Ancient civilizations refer to it as the ether. In certain occult teachings, the ether is known as the fifth element. In Sanskrit, it is called Akasha, which is the essence of all things in the material world. One of the first levels of the external reality is made of crystallizations of frozen light. Some spiritual teachings refer to them as Keylons. When these Keylons are grouped together in grid-like patterns, they form the morphogenetic field crystal body. Morphogenetic field is an invisible and thought-form field that functions as the blueprint or template upon which matter is manifested. It is also a field that allows consciousness to create structure so it can experience itself. To make it easier for you to understand, imagine that Keylons are like light bulbs stacked side by side in grid-like patterns. When these Keylons are charged with energy, they light up in certain ways, creating light patterns. These are the energy or light codes of the universe. These light codes work similar to quantum computer codes or qubits. Your perception of reality is created when your body and mind processes these light codes and project them as encoded light into the external world. This process occurs at the subconscious level. At the conscious level, you see the encoded light as matter. The dark forces are well aware of how Keylons work. Because of this, they are able to use words and magic spells to create artificial light codes and manipulate people's bodies and minds to process these artificial codes. This process allows the dark forces to hijack the natural reality to a significant degree. It also allows them to plug their DNA into the artificial matrix, enslaving their minds inside an artificial reality that is now being managed by quantum computers, one of which is the moon. The purpose of plugging people's DNA into the artificial matrix is to enslave their minds so that dark forces can use them as biological batteries. The dead entities of the dark forces need to feed on people's life force energy to thrive and survive because they are not connected to the eternal life force of God. This is why they like to order their flesh and blood minions to engineer wars. Wars create death and destruction, giving them the opportunity to feed on new bodies that still contain some life force energy, like the Lush, negative energy, extractive matrix. Because the dead entities of the dark forces need to feed on mankind's life force energy, they are astral parasites, energy vampires. They are energy vampires for the reason that they need to feed on the energy of mankind to survive. Furthermore, they need people's permission, consent, before they can do anything to them. In movies, vampires cannot enter a house unless they get permission from the owner. Now, you know the origin of vampires. And it gives you hope because it just goes to show that it's so easy to get out from this madness. Just withdraw your consent. Remember who you are and dictate your terms and conditions and recognize when to say no. I do not consent to that. Show me, find a proof of a lawful contract and all these things. Full disclosure, equal consideration, a bilateral contract, sign a wet ink from both parties, lawful terms and conditions. This applies in every single density, even in the astral form. If you coming into an entity, the same laws apply. They're all derived from God's law, which is, contract, which is respecting free will and consent. If you want to be an automaton, you want to go and experience that, by all means. But you should be given full knowledge of these things, what's happening in the occult worlds, and which is only seen on the surface at the conscious level, as to the only solution, because they engineer this consent, and that, the only solution is to take these Jabberwockies that are going to alter your DNA and shut you off from receiving this essential energy light from the sun, and also, basically consent you into being contracted to be manipulated and harvested. But you get the picture. You should get the picture by now. It's all, we have the power. We got the power. Claim your crown. It's not a virus. The crown is very powerful. It's a virus to them because without us, they won't be able to survive. They are the virus. We are the antivirus software coming in. And if you do this, you'll be part of the white bodies, the antibodies, in order to help fix this virus and lift this insane, degenerate system that's been made manifest here on Earth. Like I said, hell on Earth. We need to get rid of it. Transcend it. It is important to know that there is a program behind all biological life. Even reality has a program behind it. I'll refer to this program as the source code. This code, which is made of symbols, letters and words, is written into the fabric of space by God and therefore is everywhere and is hidden inside everything. Some lines or sentences of the source code have been discovered by scientists. They like to refer to them as scientific laws. Geneticists have also found some sentences of the source code. They define them as genetic codes. In the mind, certain sentences of the source code are used to command thoughts, allowing them to be manifested into reality. When a certain percentage of the source code is infected with artificial programs, it can manifest a false reality, artificial matrix. Today, people's minds have been infected with so many artificial programs that most of them can barely tell the difference between the real world and the artificial world. The fact that most people believe the government is real is evidence that they are living in a false reality known as the artificial matrix. There is no government that is real because there is no living man or woman who is the government itself. There are only men and women acting as agents of the government. The sooner you realize this, the sooner you can free your mind from the artificial matrix. It is also important to know that the DNA of man works similar to an antenna, and the planets and the stars are like radio stations that emit signals, electromagnetic waves. These signals contain the codes of reality because they carry energy codes, information. When these signals reach people, they are processed by their minds and bodies in a way that allows their DNA to use the information to project the right frequencies of light, energy into the external world. This process literally creates their perception of reality and material worlds. This is possible because matter is a projection of energy. In other words, the material world is a giant hologram. Keep in mind that the signals containing the codes of reality also come from within. Here is an excerpt from the book Starseeds, 3rd edition, that explains this process further. To help simplify how our external world, our reality, is constructed through holographic projections of mind or energy, let us turn our attention to how a movie projector basically works. A movie projector basically works by continuously moving films along a path between a light source and the lens, causing a light effect that projects the image inside the films onto a screen. The movie projector can be metaphorically referred to as the observer's consciousness, and the light can be associated with energy. Each film can be metaphorically referred to as a point in time. The lens acts like DNA, and the screen upon which the illusion is projected on is like the unified field from which all matter is manifested. When the film is not moving, everything is still, and therefore there is no time or linear action. Once the projector is turned on and the film starts moving, there are movements on the screen, causing an illusion of linear actions and time. The illusion that is projected onto the screen, unified field, is caused by the light, energy, as it travels through the lens, our DNA, causing it to project outward into the external world. The illusions that are projected can be likened to an observer's experiences. Some important things you need to know about time are that it does not move and it is not linear. Linear time is only achieved when an observer's consciousness moves through the unified field of time. When an observer's consciousness does not move through this unified field, time is simultaneous. To trap man, male and female, in the artificial matrix, the dark forces and their flesh and blood minions created very advanced technology to obstruct certain natural signals of the planets and the sun, allowing them to interfere with the natural communication process between nature and man. This also allows the dark forces to replace some natural signals of the planets and the sun with their artificial light codes. These artificial light codes, the codes of their artificial matrix, which is an artificial reality that is ruled by the dead. When the dark forces use certain words, spells, and technologies to broadcast the artificial light codes to the artificial matrix on Earth, people's DNA receives the codes, and then the codes are processed into information by their minds. Once that process is finished, the information is projected as encoded light into the external world. This process alters their natural reality to a certain degree, allowing the dark forces to create a reality that they want. The artificial matrix that is used by the dark forces to overlay Earth's natural matrix or reality is one of their greatest technologies for controlling people's minds. The artificial matrix is very effective for controlling people because it looks very similar to the natural reality of Earth, and therefore most people have no idea that they live in an artificial reality or artificial hologram. Is there evidence that the universe is made of light, codes, energy? To find some of the evidence today, study the work of theoretical physicist Dr. James Gates Jr. Recently, he found evidence of computer codes in the fabric of space. Working on a branch of physics called supersymmetry, Dr. James Gates Jr. discovered what he describes as the presence of what appears to resemble a form of computer code called error-correcting codes, embedded within or resulting from the equations of supersymmetry that describe fundamental particles. He called these codes adinkras, a powerful system that is used by the dark forces to make it hard for people to delete the artificial codes of the artificial matrix and replace them with the natural codes of the universe is the distorted version of the alphanumeric system. Other tools that they like to use to prevent people from rising above the artificial matrix are false religion and media. By using these tools to condition people how to think, they can control their thought patterns to a large degree. This allows them to create a reality that they want. When you know that mankind's collective consciousness is what creates man's reality on Earth, you'll know why the dark forces want to control how people think. Reality is thought construction. Therefore, when people collectively think in certain ways, their thoughts, beliefs, and actions shape and define what their reality will look like. This is possible because matter is a projection of energy and is focused into existence through the power of thought. As a collective, the people of Earth are, to a great extent, literally creating the reality of Earth. They are not aware of this creation process because it occurs in their subconscious minds. The dark forces are well aware of how the universe works. This is because they know the language of the universe and how sacred geometry works. The language of the universe is based on frequency, light, sound, vibration, and sacred geometry. It is a very powerful communication and information system. In the wrong hands, a certain percentage of this universal language can be used to control people and hijack their reality. Sadly, most people are too brainwashed, ignorant, and spiritually brain dead to realize this. That gives a completely new perspective on the Matrix now, doesn't it? You need to go away and watch the Matrix again with this in mind, with everything that's been taught in this presentation. And then you'd be like, And people who can astral travel, trust me, you are able to see some of these artificial codes and cipher systems and bubbles and plugs that are plugged into astral bodies, chakra points, which are all designed in this intricate web of energy harvesting inside these artificial reality constructs in this holographic projected experience, because our true nature is of light. Souls always express a body in order to have experience within certain reality systems. Certain reality systems, like this one, otherwise has the Saturnian virus, which is this cosmic virus of these astral parasites. Other systems are pure, like God's kingdom. That's the organic, natural kingdom with the natural codes. But this virus has obviously come in and caused havoc in this universe, especially in this solar system at this current time. So, but it's, at the end of the day, it's soul evolution. I mean, this is priceless experience, and we're all here because we've chosen to be here at this time. But choose wisely where you want to end up and where you want to go. I thought these pages were so very good at explaining our reality for those who maybe haven't had the luxury to experience this firsthand out of body and maybe come into actually seeing this with their own spiritual senses, their own spiritual eyes, so to speak. And so it just, again, emphasizes everything that they're doing to shut us out from this kind of antivirus software that is coming in. So they're acting quite desperate, but it's their version of ascension that's otherwise many people unwittingly being sucked into at the moment with what's going on.